Welcome back to Dynamic Character Productions. We are doing the exit. We're here today with host, along with my co-host McKenna and the person doing all the exits this round, Lily. And today we are joined by Vinny, who I have to say, very entertaining throughout this entire season. So super excited to hear what you have to say.
Well, watching it back, I can't believe how clueless I was.
Once I saw in one of your confessionals, you did a hair flip. I was like, I've got the perfect thing for the intro. It hits right on the beat. I'm like, all right, serving looks.
Absolutely. I mean, 2 or 3 outfit changes throughout the night. That was awesome.
Yeah. You make it look like it really went on for days and days.
Oh, I mean, it went on for a while. So.
Yeah. There were 2 challenges we weren't expecting to go longer than yeah. We'll just Lily questions.
Yes.
No, but before we get there, though, let's remember Vinny didn't even have all the supplies for all the challenges.
No,
I didn't realize that.
Email. I didn't see the email that I had gotten. So originally I was an ultimate, but I didn't see the email of that. Oh, hey, you're actually playing until like 2 days before. So I didn't have the time and I didn't have the money. I had just moved and just figured out like how to get work. I was working. I was still trying to figure out how to be out on my own. If we were playing now, I feel like I would do a lot better. We'll get to that. Yeah, I didn't have all the items. I improvised with what I could, and if I couldn't do it, I just set out. So.
That's hard. That's hard to go into and feel like
I'm not a comp beast anyway, so.
You and me both. And you know what? We lasted long for not being comp beasts. And that's what matters. But a lot of my questions will deal with after the merge. But my one question pre-merge, when you are on WOTA 2.0, and it kind of seems like, okay, the easy votes will be, if we go to tribal, we'll pick off Steven and Meredith. Was there any point within those votes that you thought, maybe this isn't the right decision, or maybe I could use them with me? Or did you kind of feel like your ties with original deck were still strong enough?
I really honestly thought about it, but I'm like, I'm too close to these 2 people, which is also funny because the entire game I was saying, Brett's kind of like giving me vibes of, oh, you're going to flip at some point. But at the same time, I really liked Brett as a person. So I was like conflicted with that. I don't know. And then I also didn't expect James to like have this secret thing where if he didn't get out that round, I was going. So like,
yeah. It's hard to watch back and know that people that you would want to go to the end with were thinking of cutting you away before you thought they would. For sure.
Oh, it's not the first time that I've watched something back and they're like, oh, y'all didn't actually have my back.
And it's also hard battling the, man, I really like them as a person, but they're a threat to my game. How far and when and if do I cut them? So, I mean, props to you for even just dealing with all that too. So
yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, so, I feel like if like my internet didn't suck that round, I could have thought a little bit more, but again, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I want to bring up one thing real quick, because obviously you've played a ton of games before, but I believe this was your first Survivor type mini that you had the chance to participate in. And clearly you're very well known in the org community. So coming into this game, how surprised were you to not find some of your fellow orgers in this game?
You saying that I'm like well known, that actually like makes me feel really good, because that's what I've wanted, is to be like someone who is well known and like someone that people want to see in a game. Going in, I only really knew Bill because I've seen Bill around. Everyone else, I didn't. I kind of just assumed that everyone had played an org before. I didn't really think about that. That's why I feel like this question will come up later. So I feel like if I answer it now, but the whole Celestina thing and the whole, like, every time someone said my name, it had to do with the comment I said in the very first episode. I'm very proud about playing orgs. So it's not something I'm going to hide. I just didn't think that was going to come up as like a problem.
Yeah, I mean, as we can take flashback to Exile Island of Lauren has played many games before. Lily was a newbie and she was like, Lauren's a little sketch. So for some reason, it's ingrained in the newbie org player that gotta get out the vet, anybody who has played an org before, because they know how it works and I don't.
That's actually kind of ironic because my very first game, which was like 2.5 years ago now, I was in an org called Superfans, and it was a survivor game. And originally my target was the person who had gotten immunity for the first round, because there was a twist where one person would have immunity for like the first however many tribals. I'm like, that person needs to go as soon as they're not safe. So with that being said, we had to get a different target. And there was someone that flat out said, I've won like 20 plus games. I'm like, oh my God, you need to go.
Yeah.
And he was first boot. That was the best part. So I get it. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, I just assumed everyone had played. That was my problem. I think I just assumed that everyone knew.
I guess for future people playing with dynamic character productions, we love a newbie cast. We love giving those people their first shot and first step into the community, because we noticed like JM, this is their first game, and since then has played so many, including Vinny. So
I very much adore newbie players, pulling them into my amazing world that is the org community. Especially like the specific platform I'm aimed at, which is mainly Facebook, anywhere that's like advertised on Facebook, that sort of realm. Because I have my connections to a few of the other ones. And then, so to pull people in, I want them in this one because I feel like this one works a lot better. But just in general, having new people in the community, it makes it bigger and it expands the pool of players for other games. And it shows new people, this is something you may like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. So thinking of how admitting that you had done orgs before changed your game, would you go back and change it, or it's so authentic to you wouldn't have?
I would have just been like, I don't even think anyone ever actually asked if anyone's ever played. I don't think that was ever, and if it was like a very small thing.
I want to say you offered up all of the information yourself.
I mean, that's another thing though. I feel like if someone has someone like that, be like, okay, give me the information to like help me go forward. But like, I don't know. I wouldn't have said anything. I just would have.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because it's a part of who you are. And also from mine, when I was a newbie, I loved going to the veterans and saying, so what do you think this means? Because they always know, like, and you can use it and it helps make a connection. But there is a point where the newbie does get concerned, like, okay, they actually do always know. So it's a hard thing.
I think it was kind of ironic that in at least the first portion, it wasn't even my team. It was the other team. They were like, okay, we need to go. But everyone on my team, I just feel like we were all a cohesive unit. We never really went to tribal, so we never had to worry about it. But when we did go to the tribal the first time, even though it didn't really count, I wasn't really a name being said,
You could have been. You were not on the Chipotle train, so I tried to really bring that up to.
I was there. I've never been. So
yeah.
Why do you think? Why do you think originally your name is never brought up? It's kind of between JM and Bill because they kind of, what's it called? Screwed the pooch on that game.
They loved the first challenge. I still, to this day, would have kept fighting for JM to stay because I feel like it was more of a Bill-sided thing. I love both of them though. I'm glad both of them got the chance to stay because later down, obviously, I feel more. If I didn't have the internet outage, I feel like I would have kept those relationships still. However, I definitely felt like it was more of a Bill thing because I got it after a little bit. Like I understood what Jay was doing.
I love having this interview after we just did Tom, and Tom was like, "It was a donkey. It's Jay's fault." So
No, it wasn't. I mean, obviously certain people aren't going to get it, but it was more the like, I got, after a while of seeing this, I'm like, okay, it has to do with smell. What's the first thing that comes to your head when you think of smell? It's a skunk. But maybe that's just me being more, I'm pretty good with like, I don't know if it's intuition or if it's like just general knowledge, but I'm pretty good when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you should have been in the position to be able to guess that, but all of you are being way too nice. It was awful.
Both of them.
Especially when we finally did get it, it was their last thing. So
yeah,
it didn't matter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why do you think though their names kind of fall back and it kind of does become, well, we don't hear their names ever again. We heard it the first vote and then there wasn't a vote. And then no one is really interested in discussing voting them out moving forward.
I guess because we wanted to keep the tribe strong because we had kept winning, so we didn't really have to worry about it. So to more build those connections first, we're throwing names out. Because I feel like if you throw a name out, then there's a 50-50 chance it's just going to backfire, and then you're going to be the target until whatever set time if you do get voted out, or until we got to the tribe swaps.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of wanted to build connections versus knocking names down.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that totally makes sense.
At least that's how I saw it.
The next question I have, and I just want to point this out, it's not really a question, but in episode 6, you say you think you come across as overbearing, and I want to say I completely disagree. I think you are very good at being straightforward, and in these games where you just have the scramble rooms, you kind of have to be. And we see further down in the game, you know, people kind of get voted out because they aren't straightforward. So do you think in some ways you think it hurts your game? I see it as a benefit. I didn't know if you ever thought of it as a benefit as well.
See, two things. One, I guess I just underestimated my ability because later down when I became more confident with my gameplay, I actually started doing really well in minis. And I play Sean Groves minis a lot. And I've won 4 of them now. So I'm sitting pretty in that company. But then again, those are social games. Those have nothing to do with competition. So there's a little bit of that. But also on the other reason I was going to bring up was I guess I just didn't want to be the person that if I'm straightforward with you and I tell you a name, it's going to go and get to someone else, or you're going to just mess with it. I got to get the right person. And I don't want to be that person that's overbearing, like constantly talking. Because I talk a lot. I already know I talk a lot. So I feel like in that game, I tried not to talk as much because if I talk too much, then people are going to be like, okay, you are way too social. You're way too like trying to get your point across and not listening to other people. People are going to want to get you out. So I try to just, that's why, again, that's another reason why I didn't try to bring up a name early, because I didn't want to cause any problems. I just wanted to be that person that's kind of there. Just me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good way to go, especially at the beginning, to fly under the radar. And it does seem like you're doing that, but then slowly your name keeps getting brought up. And it's just like 1 here and then maybe 2 there. And then all of a sudden, you're the only name that's being brought up. Is there a point where you start to get worried that your name is coming up?
I mean, yeah. When I first started to hear, I think in the game, the first time I heard my name, other than when we were on that tribe swap, obviously they only really could say one name, and it was my name. I didn't think much about that because obviously that was the other tribe. It wasn't my tribe that was bringing my name up. But then the other time I heard my name was during the vote when it was me and who was I tied with? Garret? 1v1.
Yes.
So when that happened, that's when I'm like, okay, my name is being voted now. People can start to use that.
Yeah,
That's why
Garret said, I'm voting Vinny. And then James threw his random vote for JS and tied it. Garret was immune from.
And again, another reason why I didn't suspect James to be that person that would have flipped on me, because that round, the plan would have been, if he didn't do that, it would have been me.
Right.
Again, so that's kind of like, my perception of the game was off. I didn't realize how bad people were coming for me. But it was subtle. So it was like, you're not a priority now, but you will need to be a priority at some point.
Or you're just you're just one of those players that you can't have an inkling that you're being trying to get gunned for. You just have to go.
Right. For sure. And I feel like that's why the round I was eliminated was the round I had to fight the most, and I didn't get that chance because of my internet.
Right.
Which, I mean, now I don't have to worry about that because I got college Wi-Fi and it's not that bad. So again, it was a situational thing. If I had the internet, I feel like I would have had the chance to fight and stay in the game. There was also a thing at the end where someone had their name changed, and I went to go claim whatever it was, and I guess it probably was before I said something, but it never disappeared. So I was kind of just in between.
It was the hosts, our Zoom pictures kind of changed. Some of our Zoom pictures changed.
Yeah, there was a name that was changed. I'm like, oh, claim, and then just nothing happened. So I'm like, oh crap. So that's another thing. I was also constantly trying to look for an advantage because I've never really held an idol in a game. I've never had an idol in a Survivor game, and I've always wanted to. That's been my biggest thing. I want that, but I never get.
It's not that great. Let me tell you, it's really not.
I don't know. It's not the best. Nice to hold power. I feel like it's nice to hold that little inkling of power, but
you think it is. You think it is great, but again, I can promise you, it's not.
The best way to hold an idol is have an ally that you know would play the idol on you. That's how to hold an idol.
That's true. But I don't know. Regardless, I feel like that round that I was voted out was the round I needed to fight the hardest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not all that sure you would have gone home that round if it wasn't for the internet struggles. I want to say it was because of the internet that you were voted out, because they wanted to work with you. I think someone like Celestina, JM had a really they struggled voting you out.
Oh, I know.
But it was because they couldn't strategize because of the internet was whacked out, and it's well, it's not me.
But then I have an argument for that. Then why would you vote me out if I'm having this struggle? I can't play the game, so why would you vote for me in the end?
Because
that's too big game thinking.
What if they need a vote for a vote in the future? I don't know. Who knows?
That's true.
But
that's true. No, that's fair. The only name I would think I was told was Celestina, and I didn't even vote Celestina. I voted for Garret. So I stayed loyal. I played a loyal game. So
yeah, that's good. Speaking of loyal, you get to the merge, and everyone's very original Dak strong, and it seems like you're kind of on this. Let's get us 2 votes down, and then we'll kind of duke it out.
Yeah.
Were you thinking that? And if so, who were you wanting to work with once it kind of came to the Dak battle?
Okay. Yes, I was thinking that because, I mean, it brings us all a step closer. So statistically, it's better for all of us. And then when it came down to, if it just came down to Dak, it would have been rough because it would have been, obviously I had James, but then I feel like James would have flipped on me at some point. So that would have been crazy. But then I have this connection with JM. I started to bond more over time with JM, which was cool. I would have probably worked with. Okay, but then that's also a weird thing. That I also don't know if that would have happened regardless if we had voted out Garret that one round. Because JM had a close relationship with JS, and I would have been fine with that. So then it was sort of a in the moment thing. I don't think I ever really thought 2 steps ahead. I was just kind of in the moment playing.
Sometimes in the minis, that's the best way to do it. Just keep myself alive and
Yeah.
deal with the next vote.
It's definitely like it's a by moment thing. Some people do think 2 steps ahead, and good on them, but sometimes you're just not that fast. So
in hindsight, while watching the episodes, did you kind of figure out, or did you kind of plot who you would have wanted to sit next to in a final 3 or a final 2? And do you think that would have been different than what you would have been kind of pushing in the game?
In the game, yeah. That was so good with James.
So in game, who was your final 3? Like Headspace in game.
Headspace final 3 would have been me, James, and Brett or JM.
Okay.
Outside of game, I'm like, you're an idiot. You're not saying it, Tom, and you need to JM. Regardless, I'm the one. I'm like, I don't think I was winning the game at all. Just I don't think bringing up into merge, I didn't have the correct setup. My perception was off. As much as I would fight, the only thing that would have saved me and possibly gotten me a win in the end is I tend to be really good with jury speeches. So.
It is hard because you get on this tribe, you're losing, so you're kind of getting that morale with James and Brett that you're sticking together, you're voting people out, but you're also missing that opportunity that Celestina and Bill have in getting to know the other tribe mates and getting more connections of possibility.
And you know what's so funny about that? That whole tribe swap, I raised my hand in that episode. I said I wanted to be the leader, but then I think the whole situation got changed because 2 other people said something, or the whole.
I want to say Tom spoke up saying, "Well, Celestina led us in the dice."
Right.
I want to say something.
But I had already volunteered, so it was kind of like okay, well, I tried, but no one wanted to give me that thing. I think if that had happened, I would have fixed my game. So.
How would you have fixed it?
I mean, either I would have chosen the tribes and I would have picked it a little bit more strategically. I was taking notes the entire game. I was writing stuff down. I had this whole thing. It took me the first 2 rounds to actually get everyone's name on my list. But I was keeping track of everything. And so I either would have been really strategic coming to the bat, trying to either split us down the middle or try to put more of us on one tribe. Or I would have been in the position of putting myself on tribe. Some people wouldn't say that either side was really good for their game, but it set them up in such a good position because, well, one, Celestina picked the tribes and obviously was put on a tribe that benefited. And then also, who was the other person? Was it Steven?
It was Steven. Steven was the one who picked which tribe he wanted to be on.
That wasn't a good choice. That was
You're not the first to mention that, and I think it's,
no,
been mentioned quite a bit.
Poor Steven.
No. There would have been a really bad tribe number ratio thing, because if he had just gone to the other tribe, it would have been 7-4.
It would have been 3-3, and then depending on what Tom did or something like that. Because
it was the power.
Tom got the ending power to choose his tribe after the captains had chosen their tribe.
Then the Tom thing was also kind of weird because I thought Tom would have ended up on our tribe as well.
But Tom had a pre-existing relationship with Bill and they were tight, so that's why.
But that I didn't know during the game.
Right.
They kept that hush hush.
Yeah, again, it was that whole thing, if I had gotten one of those spots, would have set me up a little bit better for the rest of the game. But I mean, regardless, I still made it pretty far. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. And it does seem in the episode where you get voted out, there's a conversation between Celestina and between Brett. Celestina saying, you know, she sees you as a threat. You are good at strategy. She kind of says all this stuff. And then Brett says, I don't see them as a threat. You know, I want to take them to the end, actually. Why do you think there's such a difference between the two?
I don't know why Celestina was coming at me so hard, because I feel like Celestina is one of the people I tried to put a lot of time into with that relationship. So I don't know what the disconnect was between us two. I still don't know, like watching the episodes. I guess Celestina just probably had better relationships with other people, so I wasn't top priority.
Right.
And also Celestina was playing with a very emotional game, which is also weird. That's kind of like, why would you go after me? And the reasonings, just again, it was the reasonings of, oh, they've played so many games. And then there was another thing where, oh, they have a thing at 9. Why would I be here? If, like, I would choose this because it's an in-a-moment game versus a game that's a long game that I can always fix later. So like, reasons I didn't agree with, reasons I wouldn't understand why you would go for that. And then obviously Brett, I had a good relationship with Brett. I wish I had just kind of gotten rid of that idea in my head of the snake, because I feel like I've been duped so many times in the past because of that, because I would trust someone and they would turn on me and I didn't want to fall for that again. But sometimes you just gotta just keep going fresh.
That's it.
So,
Yep.
It's hard. Yeah, and it's hard to gauge those in such a quick sort of situation. And in that last vote, we don't really get to see you strategize because you're kind of cutting in and out, which we've mentioned before. So what were you thinking going in? You heard Celestina. Did you believe it?
No, I didn't believe it. I didn't think, because Celestina had so many good relationships. I'm like, why? I guess it was in that moment, I was just so overwhelmed with like anxiety and anger and frustration with the fact that I couldn't get on and fight and plead my case. So I didn't really have, like, strategy mode went off for a second, and it was more like, okay, just get back at the game. I just wish that my relationships had held up, but there was some people that just weren't holding up. And then again, another thing I want to say, and this is just like a pet peeve of mine, is when people vote out someone who they think is like their number one because it looks bad if they are on the wrong side of the votes. I'm like, then my argument, my piece, because I do play a loyal game, I try to play a loyal game, is why would you put out someone that you want to bring to the end, regardless if it would look bad on you? You're proving your loyalty to that person. Especially as deep as we were, everyone kind of knew where everyone else was at. So,
yeah,
I don't personally get it, but it's whatever.
Everyone has their own strategy.
Yes, agreed. And it's hard. I feel the same. But yeah, it's interesting to watch back and to realize people's strategies are different than what you thought they were in the game moving forward.
Yeah.
If you could play in a Survivor org or Survivor in real life, and you could pick anyone from the cast, who would you pick and why?
Jay.
Yeah.
Jay, I need Jay on my team. I love Jay. Since the game, we've bonded so much. Jay has won 2 of my games. One of them a full length, one of them a mini. My minis are a lot quicker than this Survivor game. My mini's not an all day thing. It's like a 3 or 4 hour thing. So it moves quick. And Jay still picked up the win. Jay is one of my most determined players. I mean, hell, Jay's in the cast of Winners at War, a Survivor game, for my game. Like, that's how big. Jay is a big player of mine. Jay and Nikki. Nikki's also in that game, and Nikki's another person.
Nikki, season 2, Lalimanu Beach.
Nikki is another person who, I consider her the gold, like one of the golden girls in my game, because people are scared of her in my game. And it's like, she's a powerhouse.
One of the reasons
But,
why
like-
he went out in our game too, people were like, Nikki's gotta go.
Yeah. But Nikki, if nobody knows Nikki is a very like undercover, like she's just kind of chilling. Which is kind of how she got her win in season 2 of my game. But then Jay dethroned her in season 3 when Jay got first place, Nikki got second place. So Jay, I would bring Jay because I love Jay on a personal level. We're like best friends, and then also just on a gameplay level, Jay is so committed to the game.
Yeah. I think that's a great pick. I could really see you guys getting on the same page. I felt like you both were
I'm not as
on
close
this-
with anyone else from the season besides Jay.
Mhm.
I've talked to Pratt a little bit. Bill, obviously, I see Bill around the community. I've talked to Celestina a little. I talked to Celestina a little after the game,
Mhm.
but I haven't really talked to her since then. Talked to Tom a little, but everyone else, I feel like they don't talk very much.
Right.
And I think you both play very loyal games. And I think you both kind of need someone to also play a loyal game to get far. So I could really see that duo working out and no one believing that either of you would take each other, if that makes sense. So I like it. I think it's a
All
good
stars,
pick.
here we come. No.
Yeah. Well, I just have one more question for the end, but if we want to hop over to Facebook questions.
Alrighty. So our first one is from JS. Vinny, if you weren't voted out when you were, what was your end game plan? So we kind of touched a little bit on that. So like if you weren't voted out at 7 and say like Garret was voted out at 7 because that was also the other
Right.
name thrown
Right.
around.
I
How would you have navigated yourself toward the end game?
still think that was a hard vote, that specific round, because Garret has an idol. Or did Garret actually have an idol? I don't remember. It's been a
Yet to be
minute.
seen.
Yeah, we don't know.
I
He
don't
says
remember it.
he says he keeps saving his idol and saving his idol for next round.
And I think that was a ploy, because I don't remember. But it's been a
Theoretically, we'll see next
But
episode.
theoretically, if it was real, then it wouldn't really be Garret still. It would still have to go on someone else. If Garret did go that route, that'd be huge if Garret went that route, because that leaves us in a really good. I think that would have left me in a really good spot where I had Jam. Jam has these connections. Jam would have been able to help me. I would have tried to connect a little bit more with a few other people that I don't think I had that connection with for the end game. Would have tried to win immunity at least one time. At least pick up one win, because I feel like that would have helped a little bit. I guess just try to be that vote for whatever needs to happen, and try to play like the I'm a vote for the rest, because at that point I just didn't see myself. I don't feel like I set up a resume to get me to the end, so I would have just played it by ear the rest of the game.
Yep, makes sense. Steven has something for you. Vinny, do you think Woda was cursed after losing back-to-back after the swap?
Yeah. Are we after the swap?
Yeah, well, I mean, Woda
So, like-
lost outright all the time because you swapped onto Wota, onto new Wota, and then
Yeah, for
lost.
sure. I mean, the fact that, what was it, Jaden was on that puzzle for how long? And
We don't
like that
talk
right
about-
there was like,
We don't talk about that puzzle.
that right there was like, wow. Yeah, that tribe was something else. I wish they weren't because I feel like the game would have played out a little bit better if the tribes were like equally like.
It was
winning and
unexpected. It was very unexpected by production as well.
losing. Unprecedented. Really.
And when we do this, we can't equally be like, I think this person's going to be good at challenges, or to balance it out. We have
like, you don't know.
we have no idea what anyone is capable of, because people we think will do well at a challenge don't, and the ones that we think are going to be terrible do well.
Yeah.
So you just don't
I mean,
know.
and then it's like I wish some of those players had made it farther, because I would have loved to see who I could have worked with, who I could have talked to and strategized with, where I would have ended up later in the game.
Speaking of, Stephen actually does have one more question for you. Why was he targeted first over Meredith?
I had a better connection with Meredith, honestly. I felt so like Meredith, this is probably the biggest reason.
Mm-hmm.
In the very beginning of the game, I wrote down everyone's name, but I wrote down next to their name, like who I wanted to talk to before we got into tribes. Meredith was one of those names that I wanted to talk to. So I instantly was like, okay, Meredith, I want to work with Meredith. If I can get Meredith a little bit farther, just a little bit more. That didn't work. Obviously, that didn't happen because we kept losing. And then I didn't feel like a connection with Steven.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just perception. That's how the game played out.
Right. The lovely JM. To Vinny, I feel like we discuss a lot of the game together. I've got nothing to say besides how much I love and appreciate you as a person and the friendship we built.
I love JM. I can't give enough appreciation that I got to meet. I appreciate you guys for letting me meet JM. JM is someone who I've definitely appreciated having the pleasure of meeting. And I am glad that they are now representing my game. So
yeah.
It's appreciated.
We've got a question. Your last question is from Garret. Vinny, it was great meeting you in this game. Sorry you had to deal with Wi-Fi issues like that in the last round. That's an absolute brutal way to go. Had your Wi-Fi been working normally at that point, what would your plan have been for that round? So who would you have tried to target for that round? Where was your social?
No, that's the thing. Garret, you were the biggest target. But I almost felt like keeping you would save me from my tribe crumbling on top of me and crumbling on the rest of them. So, and if I had caught Celestina saying my name,
Celestina,
it would have been Celestina. Mm-hmm. It would have been Celestina. Yeah, probably Celestina.
Ooh, T.
I love Celestina. I love Celestina as a person, but then it just felt like the end game was messy.
Mm-hmm.
Celestina played emotionally. And I feel like, again, that's why I explained it earlier, it was a little bit of emotion. Too much emotion can really make your game messy.
Yeah.
You have to, you got to figure out the game, like personal and game have to be not one more than the other.
Yeah.
Well, if anything, game should be a little bit more.
That's all my Facebook questions.
All right. So we like to end every exit interview with one question, and that is if you could sum up your entire game in one word, what would it be and why?
Clueless. Clueless as, because like my perception of everyone in the game, just like how I thought people's connections were, because I feel like a lot of how I play games is based on how I think people are connected. If I don't have the right little perception of that, it's gonna fuck everything up. Watching it back, I'm cringing so bad. It's like you did not know where you were. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was definitely like the situation I was put into in life. So now that I'm out of that, I'm kind of more on my own. Mm-hmm. I've found myself a little bit more as well. You know, coming out as non-binary, she, they, sort of the pronouns, and figuring out like where I fit into that sort of situation. I've become a lot more better of a game player. So if I could come back, that would be great. I would love to play again.
We'll see. Who knows what's in store for the next couple of seasons for DCP.
I enjoy playing these like face-to-face, like it makes it so much more interactive and realistic versus the text-based ones that I don't really care for anymore.
Yeah. We love our orgs here at DCP, so
It was a pleasure watching you. It was great. I was rooting for you. You made it a lot longer than I thought because your name was brought up, and I'm really happy to see that. And I can't wait to watch more of you moving forward. And it was great to
I
meet
will take
with
seventh
you and
place.
interview. Yeah, yeah, it's much better than first vote out. So
And it merged. That's the ultimate goal, is to be in merge. So
yeah, totally agree. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
that's the secondary objective. First objective is to win.
Yeah.
Well, but before we go, though, we are casting for our long game, everyone. We are looking for people who want to play the game of Survivor, the game we all know and love. These two lovely people that I have with me have also played in our first season of the long game. Lily, talk about how you took out Lauren and how much fun it was.
Wow.
I loved Lauren in the game, but I just knew I couldn't trust her because she was a veteran, just like what we talked about in this game.
But you love me in real life, so I mean,
It all
I can
works out.
handle it. Then
Yeah.
again, I wasn't bitter though, so you have
You
to
weren't.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was not bitter.
The link is in the description. Sign up, sign up, sign up. You will not regret it. As someone who played the mini, had a lot of fun with the mini, this is 39 more fun days. Like, let's go play it. All right, Lauren, take us home.
Well, Vinny, thank you so much for joining us. It was exciting to hear all about your game, and we were super happy that you decided to play on this season. There we go. Crown it up. Oh, wait,
It's
no,
glory.
you can't have the blurredness. What the heck's going on? But the crown was there. We did.
Need to see my messy door.
We did see it, so it was there for a shot.
There
Here
we
we
go.
go. Presenting once again the shining crown. But again, thank you so much for playing. And everyone else, be sure to check out all the content we have here at Dynamic Character Production. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and be on the lookout for the rest of this crazy season. It's going to be an epic finish. So stay tuned and keep watching. Again, thank you so much, McKenna, as always. Lily, always fantastic to see you. Good night, everyone.